Hi, my name is Afi Rule. I wear what I make, and I can teach you how to wear what you make. So today I want to talk to you guys about interfacing. Specifically, what is it, and when and why you would need to use it in a sewing project. Very simply defined, interfacing is a material, a fabric material, that is often used to help shape, strengthen, or provide some type of support to a different part of your garment. So honestly, you would need to use interfacing whenever it's called for in a sewing project. And whatever sewing project that you buy in the like when it tells you like the yardages and different types of fabrics that it recommends or notions and things like that, it's going to tell you that you would need interfacing, and it's going to tell you how much interfacing that you need. Just a little tip: if you have a project that calls for interfacing, do not skip it. Make sure that you use it, okay? So we answered the why as to why you would need interfacing, which is basically because you need to provide some type of support, shape, or you need to strengthen a part of your sewing garment or a part of your garment. Now, as to why you would need it, or maybe what types of projects that you're going to use it in, I've seen interfacing with a lot of buttonholes because you need to strengthen the fabric that you are sewing the buttonhole into. I've seen it with a lot of sun hats, and I'll show you examples of the ones that I made this past summer that I used interfacing with. I actually used interfacing in this, and I'll show you exactly where I put it in just a moment too. But basically, it's used in a number of different ways and a number of different types of garments to provide that structure. Another thing that I've seen it in is collars and the types of wristbands that you would see in those dress shirts, like men's dress shirts, and women's shirts have them too. But it provides shape and structure, and it strengthens the fabric so that it can stand, like, kind of be firm and stiff instead of just kind of waffle over or hang. There are certain types of your project and materials that you want it to hang, but then there are certain types where you want them to have structure and shape, and interfacing is going to help you do that. So I want to show you guys some examples of when and how you would use interfacing. And actually, I just remembered, when you use interfacing, you're going to cut it pretty much in the same way that you would cut out your garment pieces for your project. You may use the same sewing pattern pieces to do this, or your project may provide special pieces specifically for your interfacing. Another thing that I've observed that I want you to know and pay attention to is the different weights of interfacing and the types of interfacing. So just like your fabrics have different weights, like this is a heavier weight of fabric, this is a heavier weight of fabric, this is lightweight, your interfacing is going to range from lightweight to very heavyweight. And that is something that you want to pay attention to, because if you need something that needs a lot of support and it's a heavier fabric, you're going to need a heavier type of interfacing. So the last thing that I wanted you to pay attention to is whether or not your interfacing is iron on or if it's sew in. If it's iron on, you want to make sure that you are always aware of what I call the adhesive side. That's the side that is going to stick to your fabric when you iron on the non-adhesive side. So I'm going to show you again an example of where you would place the adhesive side. Now, if you use a sew-in, you would just have to decide how you want to sew the interfacing pieces onto or into the garment pieces. That's the type that I prefer. And I honestly have never seen like sew or iron on interfacing with heavier weights. I could be wrong, but I have never found any. Maybe it's just where I shop. I don't know. But I feel like the lighter weight interfacing tends to be iron on by sew in. So now let's get into a couple of examples of what interfacing looks like and how I've used them in my particular projects. These are some examples of what interfacing is going to look like once you have cut them, or the pieces from your pattern piece. So this was the brim of a hat that I was working on. I was in the the design stages of trying to figure out how to make my hats. And so what I did was this is the brim of the hat, and this is the fabric piece that I cut from the pattern piece. And I also cut an exact match or replica from the interfacing. Okay. And so these are the same two exact shapes. And then what you do is you pin them together just like you would two pieces of fabric. You pin the interfacing to the wrong side of your fabric. Okay. And then you stitch them together if it is a sew-in type of interfacing. If it is an iron-on, you're going to place the sticky side, what I call the sticky side of the interfacing, which is meant to adhere to the fabric. You're going to place that down onto the wrong side of the fabric and then iron it on together. All right, so here is my hooded cape that I am working on for late winter and fall. Now inside of and you can see I have pins here because I'm still, gotta provide some finishing touches to it, okay? But what I want you to see is the interfacing inside of here, okay? So this front panel has interfacing on the other side, all right? And this is going to help provide shape to my front panel. So the collar also has interfacing on the collar facing. That's going to provide both support and shape to the collar, okay? So that's an example of what it looks like inside of a finished garment. Here are some sun hats that I made this past summer. Every sun hat, bucket hat, or similar type of hat that I've ever made always calls for a kind of mid or heavier weight interfacing. And it's because you need to strengthen the hat and give it shape so that it doesn't just flop down when you wear it. Now, as you can see, this is a cotton. All of these are some type of cotton fabric, which cotton is a little more, it tends to be on the thinner side, but it's more durable, but it still needs you to be able to give it shape, okay? So I'll actually be able to open one of these up for you so that you can see where I have the interfacing. You can see right in there, I have the interfacing, and that's that, sewn together. All right, guys, so that concludes our talk about interfacing. If you need help with your sewing projects, I'd like to invite you to join the Wear What You Make community. You'll gain access to a library of growing sewing tutorials, sewing talks just like these, sewing tips, access to the Wear What You Make master course, which goes over all the basics of sewing, and I will be able to provide you with individualized feedback on your sewing projects. If you go to 3pass.wearwhatyoumake.com, you can check us out there. I'll see you then. We'll talk soon. Bye. So to reinforce the reasons why you would need interfacing, again, to provide shape, support. I forgot the reasons. The reasons! go that high. Maybe that'll jog my memory though. Oh my gosh. All right.